Number 6.
Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. The adventure continues.
Anyone who says Shatner cannot act, I want you to go watch this film. I want you to watch the scene where David Marcus is slain. And then I want you to watch Kirk literally collapse on the bridge when he discovers his son has been killed. It is an effective, powerful scene, and Shatner nails it. No histrionics, no over-the-top speeches. "You Klingon bastards have murdered my son," is said with such pathos as Kirk sits there on the deck, defeated. While odd-numbered Trek movies are much maligned, I find nothing wrong with this film. It is a perfectly serviceable entry in the franchise, with director Leonard Nimoy attempting to give almost everyone their moment to shine. Okay, yeah, Walter Koenig is given the shaft, especially considering the pink suit he's forced to wear, but at least Nimoy seems to make it up to him in the following film. Uhura's scene is especially fun. The destruction of the Enterprise ranks alongside Spock's death as one of the franchise's most powerful scenes, and Christopher Lloyd's crew counts among Trek's greatest villains. I appreciated how it felt like everything had consequences, that there had to be a price paid in saving Spock with the death of David and the destruction of Enterprise. And though I knew it was coming, that I saw what became of her in the trailer, I had prayed it was a nightmare sequence or some simulation. The death of the Enterprise, and yes, it was a death, a glorious death, almost made me cry. The search for Spock might not stand well on its own the way the first two movies do, but as part of a trilogy in parts 2, 3, and 4, it's a damn good film. Number 5.
Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
I remember when I saw this film with my friends and brothers, the thing that struck us all immediately was the opening score. Far from the happy tunes of Leonard Roseman's Voyage home music, or the recycled schlock of Jerry Goldsmith's Final Frontier, Edelman's composition was dark and foreboding, promising that this film was going to be quite unlike whale-saving or apocryphal trips to find God. No, The Undiscovered Country was going to be a serious film. And it is, for the most part. The Undiscovered Country does a incredible job of building on what had come before. Kirk is bitter over the death of David, and you can tell just how much everyone wanted to divorce themselves from the horror of the previous film by showing Kirk's hatred of the Klingons, whereas in the prior movie, he's pretty cool with hanging out with them. Final Frontier? What's that? You have to be a pretty shitty film if everyone pretends you don't exist. The plot of the film is the crew is caught in a scheme to catapult the Klingons and Federations into a war, with both sides believing that it is for the best. The Undiscovered Country is a good political thriller. And what about that ending, with everyone literally signing off? I won't lie, that honestly choked me up a bit, because I thought, that was it. The crew was done. And then Generations fucked that up. Now I'm halfway tempted to push that movie further down the list. Number 4.
Star Trek, First Contact.
When you think Star Trek, the word horror doesn't normally come to mind. But damn it, First Contact doesn't do it well. The Borg come across as a true menace. With the larger budget, they are given a subtle but effective makeover. They are portrayed as a major threat, with one cube carving a swath of destruction through Starfleet. And in this film, Patrick Stewart truly shines as a 24th century Ahab, driven nearly insane with fear and rage. Picard was, in effect, raped in body and mind by the Borg, and we see in this film a suitable response not adequately on display in those later Borg episodes in TNG. What doesn't work? Well, it's a time travel story. By this point, a sad cliche. And the Borg are given a queen, which destroys their uniqueness. The Borg should have been seen as a faceless force of nature, and instead someone at Paramount apparently got cold feet and thought the heroes needed to have a face put to their enemy. The Borg Queen comes across as silly. Sadly, the Next Generation's only good film, it doesn't quite crack the top 3. Number 3.
Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home.
Looking back, this is quite possibly the ballsiest movie in the entire franchise. Kirk and company go back in time to save whales. Okay, granted, by this point the franchise was so popular the game could have possibly gone off to find God and it would have made money. Oh wait, they did. And it didn't. Seriously, Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, works because everyone seems to be having the time of their life. The humor comes across naturally to the gang, who by now could have done these roles in their sleep. We get some fantastic interaction between the cast, and the story itself is a fun tale. Does the message regarding whaling and the plight of the world's largest mammals come across as heavy-handed at times? A little bit, maybe, but I really didn't mind that. Does the film use the worn-out time travel plot device? Yes, but bear in mind that Next Generation had not aired yet, so time travel had not quite been done to death. Does the story borrow from the motion picture? Yes, and that counts against the film. But despite these little nits, the movie is a damn good time. And call me a sentimental sucker, but I just love the ending. Number 2.
Star Trek, the motion picture.
This is probably the most controversial choice on the list, and I stand by it steadfastly. Star Trek the Motion Picture is by no means a perfect film. It suffers from glacial pacing in parts, and the plot itself is derivative of the original series episode The Changeling. That being said, it was the best reflection of what Star Trek was supposed to be about. Encounters with the unknown, threats so large that only the intrepid crew of the Enterprise could face them. A resolution that, as incredible as it may seem, involved a non-violent solution. While today a majority of people who go to see a Star Trek film expect the ending to involve an explosion, or someone getting shot, stabbed, or punched, as well as the Enterprise getting trashed, the motion picture is even to this day a refreshing change from the norm, and it's partly for that reason why it rates so highly with me. The movie's production values are high, from the new uniforms, to the sets, to the models. People who complain about the slow flyby Kirk and Scotty engage in fail to take into account that scene was meant to be seen on the big screen to show the brand new Enterprise in all her glory, new footage not seen in a decade, and only then on the small screen. Add to that the wonderful getting the band back together feel seen in the first act and these characters interacting once again. The soundtrack is outstanding, and you can tell just how good it is by the fact that it had been liberally borrowed from by the Next Generation and later films whenever someone needed the Klingon theme music. But one of the things about the film I love most is Shatner's Kirk. Not to put too fine a point on it, but Kirk is a dick. He is selfish, he is bullheaded, he is uncertain. While some have argued these characters are acting out of character, what we are seeing are men who have gone their separate ways for one reason or another and discovered they are discontented. It's called character development, and by film's end, Kirk is in the captain's chair, Spock at the science station, and all is right with the world. The motion picture is a much maligned, underrated film, and I will staunchly defend it. And one more thing to think on. In order to bring Wrath of Khan under budget, producer Harv Bennett used stock footage for the motion picture. So next time you watch TWOK, take a moment to thank TMP. And speaking of Wrath of Khan, number 1.
At the end of the universe lies the beginning of vengeance. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
I'm going to share a story with you. Back in the day, my dad took me to go see Conan the Barbarian. It was rated R, so I had to talk him into taking me. It wasn't hard, since my first foray into fantasy literature were his old Conan paperbacks. Before the film began, the trailers rolled, and we were witness to a slowly spinning starfield. A voiceover intoned, "At the edge of the universe is Khan." And I knew exactly which Khan he was talking about. Space Seed was one of my favorite original series episodes. Dad thought I was having a seizure as I sat there squirming in my seat, watching the trailer to Wrath of Khan. I had no idea it was in production, had no idea of its existence. Wrath of Khan is such a good film, producers are still liberally ripping it off today. For good or ill, it set the model for most Star Trek films, from battles and nebulas to an insane and or over-the-top antagonist. It's a damn near perfect movie, with Ricardo Montalban and William Shatner taking turns chewing scenery. I honestly don't know what else I can say about this movie that hasn't been said again and again and again by critic and layman alike over the past 34 years. It's an amazing film, and considering its relatively modest budget, it's utterly incredible at how good it looks even today. Khan works in every which way, from Kirk's facing his mortality and questioning his role in life, to Khan having a legitimate grudge against the man who marooned him and his people and then failed to ensure their well-being, to David Marcus at first resenting and then coming to respect the father he never knew. Everyone does a magnificent job. Kudos especially to Walter Koenig and Paul Winfield as Captain Terrell, from the veteran actors to the newcomers. It's sad that producers who attempt to make Lightning Strike Twice miss the point entirely. Wrath of Khan works because it has a solid foundation to build on. In Space Seed, Khan is a worthy antagonist to Kirk, a genetically engineered tyrant from an earlier age, awoken into a new time, ready to conquer an unsuspecting galaxy. 20 years later, he has been driven nearly mad with grief, in many ways a different man. And he is facing a different Kirk, a man at the ebb of his powers, full of doubts. There are wonderful things going on in this film that go beyond just the battle between the two ships, and I think the later producers and directors simply cannot capture it because, in a way, Khan does cheat. It has Space Seed, and all those other films can only wish they had such a wonderful story to build on. But the other reason why Wrath of Khan works is Khan does have a legitimate cause. Kirk failed. Think about that. Kirk, that paragon of Starfleet, screwed up terribly. Khan is on a rampage because of Kirk's negligence, and so Khan's rage is well justified. And as amazing as it may seem, Khan is a sympathetic character. J.J. Abrams tries to do the same with Nero in his first Trek film, but he sadly comes up short. And an attempt is made with Sauron in Generations to make him sympathetic, but he just comes across as pathetic. No, there's only one Khan, no matter how much Benedict Cumberbatch would like to make you think otherwise. And Spock's death? Please bear in mind that at the time there were no guaranteed Star Trek films. We thought that was it. Spock was gone. His demise is one of the greatest ever seen on screen, and both Nimoy and Shatner do a splendid job. Star Trek II is and always will be the finest in the franchise. Let producers and directors keep trying to reinvent the wheel. They will never come close to perfection like this. So, there you have it. My Star Trek worst to first list. How does it match with yours? Please let me know in the comments section. Have a wonderful day, everyone.